The year was 1846, and the small community of Talladega, Alabama was all that Amos had ever known. He spent his boyhood wandering the same wooded hollows and swimming the same creek as generations before him. Now 29 years old, he lived in a modest cabin with his wife Jane and their infant son Marion. But over supper conversations and in whispered prayers before bed, Amos and Jane nurtured an ever-growing dream to head west in search of new horizons. Texas was newly minted as the 28th state in the Union that very year. Tales drifted back from these uncharted territories of untamed wilderness, vacant lands for staking claims, and opportunities for enterprising young families like the Joneses. The dream soon became a decision. They would pull up roots and join the steady flow of pioneers venturing to start new lives out on the frontier. After months of preparation, Amos and Jane were finally ready to undertake the long and perilous journey. Amos's younger brother William would join them, grieving his wife Harriet, who had recently passed, yet sharing the hope for a new beginning. With their worldly possessions loaded into 2 covered wagons and emotions swirling, the small band of relatives turned their backs to Talladega and pointed their ox teams southwest toward the wilds of Texas on November 30th, 1846. Communication with loved ones over such immense distances was no easy feat in those days. The occasional letter carried by postal rider over dusty traces and rutted roads was always welcomed, but could take months in transit. But the telegraph brought the prospect of lightning-quick messages and precious words in the voices of family left behind. Amos knew his kin back home would be desperate for signs of their survival and passage into unfamiliar terrain. He tucked a small notebook into his coat pocket, ready to chronicle their journey and transmit updates from each waypoint where he could find a telegraph office along the route west.
Telegram 1, departure. Dearest family, outside Talladega, 30 November.
With heavy hearts we said goodbye to all we know and set our sights toward the setting sun. Stop. Our destination is Cherokee County, Texas, some 800 miles away. Stop. Made it 12 miles before camping for the night on the banks of Talladega Creek. Stop. Roads rough, going slow, and Marion slept most of ride. Stop. Dream of what awaits us in Texas sustains us as we ponder uncertainty ahead. Stop. Keep us in your prayers and we share this journey in spirit. Stop. Your loving Jones family. Stop.
It was only days past their departure from Talladega when the Jones family suffered the first blows of the merciless journey ahead. Their wagon and oxen slogged through sucking mud pits, so deep the wheels sank near to the axle. Marion wailed with the bone-rattling ride until they finally emerged onto hardened road again. Provisions that Jane meticulously packed back in Alabama now dwindled at a distressing rate. Game proved scarce in the barren winter landscape, and Amos's shotgun went unfired for a week. He swallowed his frontier pride and traded what little they could spare to restock flour and salt pork at a wayside stopover. Wind and rain battered their tiny canvas-covered shelter as they huddled together against the nighttime chill. The threat of fire brought little comfort, as wood lay, too damp for kindling. Amos stared sleeplessly into darkness, doubting himself and the sacrifice he had asked of family. But Jane would steel his nerve with murmured words of future generations who might thrive on this land because of their trailblazing fortitude. When the skies mercifully cleared, Amos rose stiffly to mend the broken harness on old Bess the ox, before moving the creaking wagon onward once more. 100 miles still separated them from the Louisiana border, but Texas called from beyond. They would follow, as long as breath and provision allowed.
Telegram 2, en route update. Dear Father and Mother, somewhere in Louisiana.
Our caravan has covered near 200 miles since leaving Alabama. Stop. The going proves more grueling than we envisioned, but God has kept us safe thus far. Stop. Yesterday brought trial when roaring floodwaters swollen from rains nearly swept our wagon away crossing the Pearl River. Stop. Only by grace did beasts maintain footing on the slippery banks and deliver us from disaster. Stop. Provisions holding up despite Marion's health faltering from the arduous trek. Stop. My greatest comfort is knowing you pray for us nightly. Stop. Will telegraph again when able. Stop. May God shelter you until I can once more set eyes on beloved home. Stop.
When Amos first glimpsed the endless horizons of grassy Texas plains after coming over the rise, tears welled from the wind's sting in his eyes. The boundless landscape kindled dreams, but also swelled trepidation in his chest about the monumental challenge ahead. This was frontier beyond frontier, bare and untrammeled. but rich with potential if one possessed the determination to tame it. The Cokers welcomed the bedraggled travelers as long-lost kinfolk to their humble homesteads, sprouting up outside the frontier waypoint of Jacksonville. Amos felt profound relief as he beheld Marion sleeping soundly on a straw-stuffed mattress for the first time in 8 weeks. He knew they must press onward to his brother's land claim near the growing settlement of San Antonio. But the warmth of this new community and Christian charity convinced Amos they need not make the journey alone. He knelt to offer heartfelt prayer and thanks inside their small log chapel the Sunday prior to departing. Listening to animated talk around him of crops coming in and the birth of calves this season, Amos felt assured he made the right decision, uprooting everything familiar, to transplant his young family out on this strange and beautiful land they would now call home.
Telegram 3. Arrival in Cherokee County, our cherished kin Cherokee County, Republic of Texas 21 June 1847.
After long months and near 1,000 miles traveled, we have at last arrived in the raw and rugged lands of the Texas frontier. Stop, our first glimpse of rolling prairies and unbroken skies fills us with awe and possibility. Stirring dreams of what we might build here. Stop, by great fortune, we made acquaintance with the Coker families who, despite our unannounced arrival, welcomed us into their homestead with Christian charity. Stop, after weeks camped in wilderness, their warm hearth and humble lodgings feel a veritable paradise. Stop. We will rest here a while before venturing west toward San Antonio, where Amos' family has staked land claim near Salado Creek. Stop, I will write with our whereabouts when settled, though delivery will surely be irregular in these distant reaches. Stop, convey my abiding love to friends and kinfolk back home as we forge this new life in uncertain days ahead. Stop, may God richly bless and keep you. Stop.
Amos awoke before dawn, the echoes of a dream about Alabama still fading. He stepped outside the crude timber cabin he had hastily constructed, gazing over fields he cleared by axe and soon would cultivate. The slivered moon cast barely enough light to discern the vast expanse before him. So unlike the wooded hollows of his childhood, he felt utterly exposed on this open plain, but there was promise in the bareness. With crack of rifle shot echoing long across the prairie last week, Amos was reminded deadly Comanche war parties still rode these frontier fringes. And Jane did not disguise her longing at times for kinfolk, familiar comforts, and civilization left long miles behind. Yet when tiny Marion stumbled giggling after rabbits into the grass just as tall, Amos swore to himself that this land would provide the life for which he tore his family away from all they knew and held dear. His mind wandered back to Alabama despite himself. It was planting season there too, imagining for a fleeting moment if they had stayed rooted in that red clay soil. But the vision gyred away down the Brazos wending below bounding antelope. Their fate was here now, to tame this wild emptiness into bounty the likes of which old Talladega maps did not even etch. With axe handle smooth in his grip, Amos strode out to the tract soon to flower with new corn, hope and trepidation meeting in perfect union under the fading frontier stars.
Telegram 4. Settled near San Antonio. Beloved kinsfolk, Salado Creek, Republic of Texas, 1 January 1848.
Greetings on this first day of 1846. From your westward kin. Stop. By the Lord's grace we have completed our monumental journey and claimed land outside growing San Antonio. Stop.
A primitive cabin will shelter us as I set to work clearing fields for planting corn and cotton. Stop. My wife Jane grows stronger and young Marion explores each day. Stop. We are all eager to put our hands to the plow and establish our homestead. Stop. Convey my affection to family in Alabama as we build this new life. Stop. I dream of the day we meet again. Stop.
Your loving son Amos.
Amos sat at the rough-hewn table by the light of a flickering oil lamp. His journal lay open, the blank pages heavy with possibility like the untamed land now sheltering his young family. The past 12 months were etched into his bones after traversing over 1,000 miles by wagon, much further in spirit. Their new home was but 4 walls against the prairie night, yet it swelled his chest with bittersweet accomplishment. He could scarcely believe all they sacrificed, livelihoods and lives left behind so this forlorn pat could become consecrated ground for generations to come. Amos uncapped the inkwell his mother gifted for this odyssey into the unknown. How would he ever convey in mere words this epic journey carved into the American psyche? With care, he began etching the scene outside earlier that morning. Deer foraging just beyond crude fence-line. Scrub jays mimicking Marion's high laughter. The Brazos River wending lush bottomlands awaiting his plow. This land was now imprinted on Amos' identity, though blood still ran with Alabama clay. Already he envisioned his children's children wielding garden hoes on this same fertile plot, where not long ago, Comanche war cries still echoed. There would be toil and bloodshed yet, to shape these unbroken vistas into fruitful fields. But Amos took solace in this community of outcasts and pioneers, banded together against the wilderness. His young family would never wander alone so far from kinfolk and early years again. This land flowing with wild honey was to be their land of promise now too. With a deep breath and steady hand, Amos set pen to page and began to write their bold new chapter, rooted in the rich Texas soil.
Epilogue Telegram. Our blessed Alabama kin. Salado, Republic of Texas, 1 January 1853.
7 years hence, from when we left all familiar behind to pursue wilderness whispers of a more bountiful life out west, stop, though half a nation away, you remain ever in our hearts and memories, stop. Much unfamiliar has become cherished new tradition, stop. Marion, no longer babe in arms, but sturdy sprout, with own pet calf named Talladega, stop. Jane bore 2 strapping boys whose bare feet shall ne'er know the red clay soil of our childhood, stop. Yet, when I gaze at them, I still envision playing beneath Sweetum by the creek where we once dipped our toes to. The dawn bird song sounds, the same each morn, though I know not these species' names, stop. The seasons turn, sowing and reaping still rule our days, but on this untamed frontier, we discovered bounty and beauty anew, stop. I struggle to reconcile the ache for what we left, with possibility still unfolding before us, stop. Should the Almighty will it, I hope to again wander the hills of our youth with you, and introduce the fruits of our loins to the land that shaped their Paul, stop. Until such day, may you find comfort knowing kin remain in spirit, though our bones rest now in Texas soil, stop. Convey my everlasting affection to all, stop. Your loving son, Amos.
When Marion had children of his own, on the Salado farmstead, he would sit beneath the sprawling pecan tree Amos planted when they first arrived. Surrounded by playing grandkids nearly Texan as the bluebonnets, he could close his eyes and still smell Alabama sweet gum and red dirt. It seemed another lifetime ago, when he toddled behind Conestoga wagons towards the unknown at his parents' courageous behest. But now, Marion knew he and his kin would sow hope and heritage deep in Texas soil, so one day his great-grandkids could gaze out at the bounty yielded and scarcely imagine anywhere else as home.
Thank you so much for listening to this Family Tree Saga. We know your time is precious. Look for more at familytreesagas.com.